Hi everyone, I'm JD. Welcome back to my channel. So this is a process video for the March Daily Journal Challenge, and the prompt this time is to use a book page. So the book I chose is this one called Granny Chic. I was inspired to get this one because of Johanna Clough when she showed it on her channel, and I absolutely love it. It's so beautiful, filled with lots of pretty images, and you'll see that as I flip through. I just adore the gorgeous florals, the vintage fabrics and vintage little sentiments and pieces. I've already taken out quite a few pages and images to make my own personal Granny Chic journal, and I'm ripping out the pages that just really speak to me the most, with the pretty images. And as I'm flipping through, I'm thinking also about how the pictures that I want to choose work together, and also thinking about how they may inspire me to journal. And what I ended up doing was choosing images that kind of reflect my favorite supplies to use in a journal. So vintage, the florals, that's pretty much it. Vintage and florals or botanicals, that kind of thing, and fabrics. And then I thought maybe more specific, so I pull out some fabric and I pull out some doilies later on and some cotton thread, so just generic supplies that you use in a journal all the time, like with sewing, and how I'm always on the lookout for pretty doilies and linens and fabrics and vintage items. So I'm cutting out this plate because it's my colour scheme as well, so blue flowers, and I love blue and white. That combination is my favourite. Blue, white and silver is pretty much my favourite colour combination. So definitely wanted to cut that out. And then I'm cutting out these pieces which to me represent sort of ephemera, just vintage ephemera and pretty ephemera. So there's also a bird there and just beautiful floral botanicals and gorgeous pictures that make me happy. So cutting those out, and then I cut out some of these floral fabrics. I don't need the whole sheet, so I just cut out two sections. Well, at the start I cut out three, but when I go to stick it on the page, I keep only the blue fabrics, that middle shelf, and the pink fabrics at the bottom. So then I put aside those pages because I will definitely keep using those in other projects. So I'm flipping through again, and I do end up cutting out more things. I cut out the picture of the Queen with the she's in a frame, and I've used this image of the Queen quite a few times already, and this is me ripping out the doily page. Oh, for the love of a doily, it says. So I thought, yes, I need that page. There's the Queen. I think I don't cut her out until later on because I'm not sure when or if I'll use her, but she also has that sparkly crown, so that represents that as well. How I love sparkles, so everything's represented. My loves: blue, sparkles, vintage, and just botanicals and florals and some supplies I like. So basically, bring these pictures together. What it inspired me to do for my journaling when I came to the page was to write a list of my favorite journal supplies and supplies to buy, like a to buy list. And I broke it up into 3 sections, and I'll show you this later. If you want to skip this whole process, you can just skip to the end of the video and I show you the finished page spread with my lists. So the first list is the vintage list. So that's my kind of special list, I suppose, with the more special items. So vintage music paper, ledger paper, ephemera, postcards, playing cards, all the cards, swap cards, normal greeting cards, and like library cards, all those kind of cards, index cards. Off the top of my head, like thinking vintage glass buttons, vintage fabric, vintage lace, vintage doilies and linens, vintage book pages, all that kind of thing. So that's my ultimate favourite. supply and style. And then I have a second list, which is just other things that I also love using in my journals, but more kind of generic things. So things just like tags and journal cards and scrapbook paper and doilies and bags, and definitely glassine. That's one of my all-time favorites, glassine bags and glassine envelopes. Things like vellum and tracing paper, coloured paper, blank paper, note papers, you name it. You can use anything in a journal, right? Envelopes. But I always like to have those in my stash and to use, as many of those things in a journal as possible. That gives it that variety and that interactivity, and just, I love, giving new life to pieces that you wouldn't normally expect to find in a journal kind of thing. And then my third list is just more your kind of boring list of supplies, but your essentials basically. So things like your cotton thread for sewing and your embroidery thread for binding, and wax linen thread for dangles, eyelets for closures, your sari silks and your seam bindings for closures, ball pins, paper clips, staples, all that kind of stuff that, I don't get excited about those. Well, actually I do kind of. I love all stationery, so even a paper clip, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a paper clip. And I just want to buy every paper clip I see. Stationery lovers, you know what I mean. It's really, really dangerous for me to go into a place like Officeworks because I just want to get everything. But for the love of stationery, this journal making is perfect for the love of stationery and for the love of craft supplies. I can just kind of run wild and go nuts. And you know me, I buy in bulk so that I have a basket for each item. And well, I hope to have a basket for each item eventually. And so anyway, we're getting distracted by stationery. So they're more the boring items. Hang on, let me get back to the page. Okay, so I'm flipping through my journal and I'm looking for a page that I might want to use. And my thought process here was that I wanted to use a page that I could feel comfortable covering up completely, because I wanted to use that full page of Oh for the Love of a Doily, because it's just so pretty. I don't want to cover it up. I want to just use the whole thing. So I just use my ruler here to rip it to size, which I really love doing it because it's so quick. And if I'm like, where are my scissors? I just go, pull out my ruler and just tear it off. And it gives it that rustic edge look to it, more of a vintage look to it as well. So I'm happy covering up this page. And then I really wanted to use that transparent page as well, because I find I love being able to see through it. And I picked out quite a few images that I want to go over a few pages. And therefore I know that I want to see the images through that see-through page, if that makes sense. It's a bit of a shame that I have to cover up this back side of this page, but that's okay. I'm just double-siding tape it. What? No. Just adding some double-sided tape to the page to stick it in. And then, you'll see me playing around and sticking the other items on the page. But so I think, just watching here. I think that's all I needed to say really about my love of stationery. But let me know in the comments if you are also a stationery lover and a craft supply lover. I mean, I think all of us are if we like junk journals. We don't have a problem with hoarding. I don't think I've ever met a junk journaler who doesn't have a problem with hoarding or collecting items. So if you're one of those people, let me know. So I cut out these little buttons. They're so sweet. They kind of look like glass buttons, so I cut that out to represent how I really like especially vintage glass buttons. And this piece is the one that I want to stick on the transparent page to see through it, and I don't add anything else to the page because that would cover up, being able to see through. I do end up cutting the whole piece out, like fussy cutting it out so that I can see through it. And I'm just experimenting with that, like how much do I want to be able to see through, and it's just so pretty. I love this combination. And then I add even more images on the next page back after that, so you can see the layering effect, which I really love. This is one of my favorite page spreads that I've done in this journal. And just using book pages, using pretty images is such an easy way to enhance a page or make it stand out to you, an easy way to make you happy when you look at the page. So I guess that's one thing I've learned from this journal challenge. I guess I should use pictures that I like a lot more in my journals, because yeah, it's such a simple and effective way to decorate and be meaningful at the same time and make me happy. It just brings a smile to my face. So now I'm pulling out some washi tape. This is fabric washi tape from Caron, and I like it because it kind of ties in with the bright colours of that image, and it's often used in the book, Granny Chic book. There's washi tape samples every now and then, well, quite a lot actually, where they just randomly tape bits and pieces, like not really tape, but it just looks like they've taken a photo with the washi tape there. I'm not explaining myself well, but anyway. So I thought I'd carry on that idea and add washi tape the way they do in the Granny Chic book on the different images. And it kind of just sticks it in. So I do end up gluing it more around the edges, because originally I thought I would use the washi tape around every edge and I wouldn't use glue. So the washi tape would stick it down. But I thought after I used it 3 times, I was just thinking it was overtaking it too much, like it was too bright. A little piece here and there is fine, but if I put it around every single edge, it would be like too much. So I ended up just going with 3 pieces and then gluing the rest down. And then, yeah, I actually cut a 4th piece thinking I would stick it there, but I stuck it on the next page just as a decoration feature, which I also want to get into more. Just adding a bit of washi here and there, even if it's not to stick something in or, yeah, have a practical purpose, it still is so decorative and it's just so easy to do. So I really want to do that more too. I do need to build up my washi tape supply though. I want to get some more kind of generic washi tapes, just I don't know, just not as fancy as those William Morris ones, I suppose, thinner ones that I can just place a little bit here and there, rip it off, use it to stick on top of pieces and fill in gaps. I don't know. So how are you guys going with the challenge? It's been awesome seeing your photos and how everyone's been running with the prompts and using their supplies. I'm really enjoying it. I'm loving the fact that I'm using things on my pages, because I tend to not decorate my pages. I either just write on there with lots and lots of writing and it looks so boring, or I add in things from my day-to-day life. And I want to use more of these pretty items that make me happy to decorate pages. So that's one thing this challenge has taught me. Have you guys learned anything from this challenge? Or what's the best thing about it? What's the most challenging thing? The most challenging thing for me is, well, it's the filming part of it. I actually really love sitting down at my desk to journal. Usually these page spreads are pretty quick. They probably go for about half an hour, the entire process. Sometimes it can be quicker, 10 minutes. But usually it's half an hour. So that's just really lovely, just to sit at my desk for half an hour. And it's just so nice to journal. But not only just to journal, but to add these pretty images. So I hope you're having fun with it too. And I definitely do want to continue next year, I was going to say, next month. Anyway, so I'm finishing up here, sticking everything onto the page spread, and then I cut to after I've journaled on top of the pages. So you'll see it just in a second, and I'll give you a look as I flip through, and you can see my lists. But let me know what is on your wish list as well, and what are your favorite supplies. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you did, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.